Hey, this is the Get You Some Productions podcast, episode 94. We are a podcast covering all things from related to music production, from the first note to the last fan, and everything in between. Usually, our podcast often consists of live business meetings between my partner Dan and I, and we often do interviews. But this particular podcast episode is going to be a little different. It is a actual recording of a rap lesson that I took with my friend and former podcast guest, Saint Uno ATL. I will post, and so this show is being released and put on this channel with his permission. So it is actually a live. It was actually the rep lesson that I took with him. I'll post links to his socials. You can check him out. Maybe he'll teach you a lesson. I don't know. That's that. The usual podcast stuff. Please leave a rating and review. Please like and subscribe. And if you want to support the show, actually you can do so by checking by clicking on our Reverb link. Reverb.com is a music marketplace, a marketplace for music gear. And we get a small commission if you use our specific link, which I'll leave down below. No additional cost to you. And it's a great site where you have access to both local mom and pop type shops, individuals selling their gear, and the big box type music retailers. So once again, please use our Reverb link if you want to support the show. Please check out Saint Uno at the links that I'll provide below as well.
Thanks, bye.
All right, you are now in Saint Uno's hip hop masterclass.
Fuck yeah, man! I love it.
Okay, so I got a whole lesson plan here, but the first thing that we're going to do.
Wait, before you want to start.
Oh, okay. What's
because
up?
I know I'm not that important because I know you were like chilling with Kamala Harris just like 5 minutes ago.
No, I'm mad you said that, because this is more important to me.
This is more important.
The most important thing.
So you were, because I feel really special actually right now, because you were like, oh man, I'm good. I don't know if I can make this lesson because I'm recording Kamala Harris right now, and it's like, oh
yeah, well. It was a last minute thing. He popped up at church, and I had to. But I mean, you have my undivided attention. So, like I said, music is the most important thing to me. So I'm glad you decided to take the class.
You are the man.
Okay, so first things first. Have you ever freestyled before?
I have. So I've never freestyled before. No.
Okay, so this is gonna be your very first thing. This is gonna be like our warm up.
I'm scared.
I got a beat loaded up. You let me know if you can hear it, and you just give me your best bars off top.
Oh man, you're gonna fuck with me like that?
Yeah, dive straight into it.
Wait, before you started, can I tell you something?
What's up?
So for the first time in my life, for real, I decided this past week, to take a martial arts class.
Okay.
Which has also put me in a spot where, I was, to say the least, fairly uncomfortable.
Right.
So this is going to be number 2 in like 3 days of being extremely uncomfortable.
Hey, you're gonna be extreme. That's how you grow, man. You get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Let's do it.
That's how you expand. All right, so I'm gonna throw this beat on. It's just an old school boom bap type beat. You just show me what you got.
Okay. I don't got much. I got nothing, actually, as a matter of fact.
That's all you need.
Oh, wait, I don't hear it. I don't hear it.
Oh, you can't hear anything?
No.
Oh no, that ruins the lesson plan.
Hold
Really?
on. Yeah. Hold on one second. You know what I think it is? What? Where'd you get your beat from?
It's just it's on the internet.
All right. One second, because I think I know. I have a suspicion I know what the problem is.
I could also send it to you, and you can play it where you are, and then that might be easier. I thought about doing that anyway, but I was kind of late, so I just hopped right on.
All right. So go ahead and send it to me.
Okay.
But go ahead and send it to me. But there is a thing about Zoom. But you know what I can do is one sec.
Okay. I'm gonna grab that.
So go. Can you text it to me?
Yep, I'm doing that right now.
Because I actually. So there's a thing about Zoom where it doesn't necessarily connect audio. I thought I had it set up to do that, but maybe it doesn't necessarily pull audio from your sound card. You have to set it up specially, which I thought I did because I've streamed music on this podcast before.
Okay.
Because Dan and I did a live review one time where we played our own song and then paused it and talked about it and then played more. But you
Okay.
have to set it up. So I thought I had it set up for that, but apparently not. But I do have this speaker right here, which
Okay.
I can actually just play it in the room.
Yeah, that might be easiest. And I just sent it. I just texted it to you, so you should have it.
Okay, so hang on one second.
There it is.
Is it super loud?
It's Phantom.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Okay. Oh, I like this beat.
Thought you would.
Okay. My name is Keith. Spitting through my teeth. In the bed, I'm a freak.
It's Phantom.
Yeah, I'm a phantom. You can't see me. You can't be me. You wanna be me. Can't see me. I'm invisible. I always multiply, not divisible. Spit from the crucible. They call me Lucifer, cause I'm bad. I've been born bad.
It's Phantom.
What else
That's
you got?
all I
What else
got.
you got? You got
Hold on. I hit a wall.
Okay.
I hit a wall. Crack my bones. Smash my brain. I'm bleeding. Through a tube, I'm feeding. In a hospital bed. Blood red.
It's Phantom.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I can live with that.
Okay.
I can live with that.
Can you work with that?
I can
That's
work
the
with that.
question. That's the question.
I can work with that. So, first freestyle ever. You know what I'm saying?
First freestyle ever.
Have a beer. Congratulations, a new
Yeah.
life milestone.
This is hop water. No affiliation. It's non-alcoholic.
Oh, okay.
It's got. I just don't want you to think I'm over here drinking a beer when I'm supposed to be taking this thing seriously.
Hey, no, I mean, some of the
This is
greatest musicians of all time have been inebriated while making music, so
yeah.
I wouldn't be mad at it.
Well, this is
Um,
we got ashwagandha and L-theanine, so it's not like
okay.
totally neutral.
No, no, that's cool. I take a little ashwagandha supplement myself, good for stress relief, you know.
Yep.
But okay, so that was good. So other than just the reason why I wanted to start with that is because A, like you said, it gets you out of your comfort zone. And then also it's kind of like the essence of hip hop, you know? It's like it's thinking on your toes, it's being spontaneous. It's like the first thing that comes, it's not too overly calculated, it's not trying too hard. It's
Hmm.
just really just being yourself. And when you don't have time to prepare for something, what naturally just comes out is just kind of
Hmm.
what's already latent within you. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
I would if you're serious about being a hip hop artist, I would incorporate some freestyling. You know, maybe in your car, just throw on some beats. You know, YouTube has a plethora of beats that you can look up and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
just get comfortable with doing it. It's better to do it around people because it kind of makes you more performative and puts more pressure on you. But you can do it in isolation as well. But
Is that how you learned?
um, yeah, I think that's how everybody learns. You know, it's just kind of how like I just did it with friends, and then you know people started to say, hey, you're actually, you know, it was just a thing we're just having fun with, and they said you could actually do it at a good level. So I decided why not. So yeah, it's and then hip hop is all about having fun. So you know that's why you know you don't think about it too much. But then on a more musical note as well, so I took a class in college, right? So I took a, as you know, I'm a jazz fan, so I took like a jazz. I didn't learn how to play any instruments or anything, but it was kind of just like a jazz theory class. And
Hmm.
I forgot the name of my professor, but
Yeah, I was going to ask you, who'd you take it from?
he was
Was
you
it
would you
was
might
it a
actually
man
know him. You said
or a
what?
woman? Man or a
It was a
woman?
man. He was a drummer.
Not Thurman.
How the
Thurman
fuck did you know
Barker?
that?
Dude, I studied with Thurman Barker.
Oh, that was his name. I was trying to think of his name this morning. I was like Thurgood,
Thurman, man.
something
I
with a
wonder where he is right now.
yeah. Okay, so perfect. Okay, so did you take any class with him, or you just know him?
Yeah, because he was the head of the jazz department when I was studying there, and I studied jazz.
Okay. Oh, so you already know this. This is going to be well. Then you know his kind of tagline for the whole course is that jazz incorporate. There's only two things necessary for music to be jazz, and that is
Yeah.
syncopation, which is kind of like the swing on the beat, and then also improvisation, right? So again, in a lot of ways, that draws parallels to hip hop too, because it's improvising, it's thinking on your toes, it's really just catching what the beat is doing and not trying to overthink it and really shine, but just like I like to say that the beat is playing you as an instrument. So depending on how the beat sounds, you're going to come up with different flows, different styles, and things of that nature. But it's just really about feeling that beat and then adding the kind of best harmony that you can add on to that in an improvisational manner, you know. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's why we got started with the freestyle. And then also in terms of the syncopation, it plays that, and you kind of did it naturally, uh, because in hip hop, when you, especially when you're freestyling, you don't necessarily just want to stay on top of the beat too much because you're thinking, right? You need time to think. So it
Mm-hmm.
kind of it's something cool that you can kind of incorporate in your style when you're like you're letting some beats skip or you're taking a little long to come up with a bar, but then you sneak it in at the last moment, so it has like a double effect of it having a musical quality. It's like you're not just you know always on top of the beat, but it gives you time to think as well. So and you kind of naturally I did that. You know, you didn't let the beat bully you into saying okay I have to say a word every time the drum
Right.
hits or something. You know, you got to give
It
it
was
little pauses
it
and
was mostly just trying to think of stuff.
right. So and really the best way is to like not think if that makes sense. You
It
know, it's
makes
really
sense.
to
Yeah.
it's almost like yeah, you know, you got the hop water ashwagandha. So it's almost like Zen in that. It's like getting out of your own way and just,
Hmm.
you know, becoming the beat or whatever that is.
Right.
So Very good, very cool. And then also, which actually leads us into the next thing that I have on the lesson plan. Your very first line was my name is Keith, you know? And the very first thing I have on the lesson plan is what's your name, right? So
Oh,
it can be a hip hop name. You can come with a title, or you can just rap under the moniker Keith. But your very first line kind of hit
all
the
right.
nail on the head,
Can
you
I?
know, because the
Yeah.
reason why your name is important is two reasons. It gives you something to rap about. As you can see, your first line is, you know, my name is Keith, so it's good for content. But then also in terms of the content that you're saying, it allows you to, you know, pull. It's kind of like your brand in a sense, right? So
Right.
based on whatever your name is, you know, if my name is Young Thug, you know, I'm going to be rapping about thug things, violence and stuff. Like my name is Saint Uno. I pull on a lot of spirituality and things of my nature. So it kind of like sets the tone and puts you in the right mindset for what you're actually going to be talking about.
Yeah. I actually wanted to tell you two things. I thought of there was you know James Clear. He wrote a book. He wrote an inspirational book, but he had a quote that reminded me of you. It was basically two. His motto is like always do one thing. Always get to one, because two is 100% better than one, but one is infinity better than zero. So if you're doing nothing and you can get to one, that's infinity better,
Right,
because zero times one is still zero. Zero times infinity is still zero.
right.
But once you get to one,
It's
then
like,
you manifested, you became real. So
right.
like when I read that quote, I was like, I got to tell Saint Uno because
Saint Uno.
it's
Hey,
one, right?
right, exactly. The
Um,
one.
Now, I have not been practicing rap, but I have a lot of names that I've been tossing around.
Okay,
So
that's practicing in a sense, you know.
even though I said my name is Keith, I have a million. I have a million hip hop alter egos that I've been sort of toying with that I haven't settled on one.
Spit them out to me.
All right. So my main one is Perry Nice. I actually thought of having a whole thing where I just had a million different names,
A lot of artists have multiple
right?
monikers they go by, so it's
So
pretty
here
fitting.
I'll just spit them out real fast.
Okay.
Perry Nice, aka Frederick Rhetoric,
Ooh, I like that.
aka Duke Fredrickson, like Duke Ellington,
Okay.
aka Bryce Precise,
Vice precise.
aka Ice Babylon, aka
I
Wise Cracker,
I like that one.
aka White Giant. That's like a star.
Right.
AKA Tony Trillions, AKA Honest Abe. I'm gonna skip some of these. AKA Daddy Mobucks, AKA Donnie Iceberg. None of the AKA Due Diligence. Not I like kind of like that one.
Yeah.
AKA Huckleberry Fine.
Okay.
Eh. AKA Vanilla Abstract. No, I don't like that one at all.
No, yeah, I like that one either.
AKA Father Manhattan. No.
eh,
AKA Uncle Keith. I don't like that either.
Uncle Keith. I kind of like Uncle Keith.
Okay. AKA David Data. Oh, the last one is actually this. So I actually, now that I'm saying them out loud in public,
Yeah.
the only three of them are really. So and the last one is the Stoic Lucius Braggadocious.
That's too long for me. It's way too long.
Okay. So actually, Perry Nice or Frederick. Perry Nice is the one I've always been sort of leaning back on.
What's the origin of Perry Nice?
You know, honestly, I do not know why.
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe that's a problem. But Frederick Rhetoric, because my name is Fredrickson. My last name is Fredrickson.
That was one of my top three. Frederick Rhetoric.
So Frederick Rhetoric is not bad, right?
Yeah, I like that.
All right. Yeah, that one has resonated with a lot of people.
Okay.
And Wisecracker is just funny.
No, so okay, if I was the label A&R, your name would be Wisecracker because it that had the most jump off the page, kind of like troll. You know, that's gonna get the people to click and stuff like that. You know, so I'm not mad at that one either.
Okay.
And then you had another one was like ice in it. It was like Ice Babylon or something.
Ice Babylon? Yeah.
I like those are my favorite three. Frederick Rhetoric, Wisecracker, and Ice Babylon.
Ice Babylon.
Yeah. But you got a
Okay.
lot of AKAs. You came to class prepared.
Yeah.
You've given
Actually,
this some thought.
I did like White Giant too because a white giant is a type of star.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that one too. I like that one as well.
But I guess a lot of the other ones, maybe I'll start deleting them so they don't take up my mind space.
Right. And then the more you freestyle, you'll start to. It's good to have more names because that's again more stuff to rhyme stuff with.
Yeah.
Um. So it's good to have multiple monikers that you can go by because it's more stuff to rhyme about.
Yeah.
And yeah. So what's like the overarching overarching kind of concept I got was kind of like lyrical, wise, and but also like not too serious, like kind of jokey.
Yeah. Well, actually, and so I think I want to incorporate this. So I'm starting kind of like a soul band, like an old school, I don't know, like an old school, like Motown and kind of old school R&B band.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to sort of make some of my other music into that. And so I'm calling that, you might probably like this, Servants of Universal Love,
Okay.
because that's an acronym for soul.
I didn't. Okay.
And I want it to be sort of like a secular spiritual sort of situation where it's
I
like,
love it.
like it's like spiritual, but not specifically any one religion.
Right.
So I think what I might do is, like as I start to come up with raps, even though I like off the top of my head, I came up with some more like, not, it's all fine, it doesn't matter, but like I want to be maybe more like uplifting and spiritual if I can be.
Right. Right.
So I'm gonna try to go down that avenue.
So I resonate with that a lot. What I would say is you just got to practice more. So the way I come about it is I'll even notice like when I'm first starting a song, the first couple lines might be like just completely like secular or like completely, just talking shit or whatever. But the more I get into it and just the more I don't fight that and say, oh, I don't want to sound like I want to be preachy or I want to sound, the more I just allow it, the first thing to come to my mind, just go out. Over time, the lyrics become more so like you're saying, like more soulful, more spiritual. So
Yeah.
I would say don't let the fact that the first thing that comes to your mind being too jokey or being too, basic or whatever, don't necessarily block that out because you got to like trust that and see where it takes you. That's literally what
Mm-hmm.
I do. And a lot of people who they get too much in their head about it and like, oh, I don't want to say this. This sounds, this sounds dumb. This sounds bad. What they end up doing is they get up and they get writer's block because they're stopping themselves before they're because really at the end of the day it's all spiritual. There's no like
Yeah.
we have things that we consider this is spiritual and this is not, but literally the entire I think of spirituality is just as an experience, and your spirit likes to experience highs, lows, positive, negative, dark, light, serious, funny. So when you put it in a box and say every line has to be, lyrical, miracle, spiritual, then you end up getting writer's block, and you actually block a lot of the fun and the creativity that could have, happened had you just kind of let yourself go with it. So
Yeah.
that would be my advice on that because that's something that not that I struggle with, but I notice I'm like, I'm not, I don't have any filter, and then I notice by the end of the song, I've given a whole wide range of emotions from spiritual, fun, light, it's just a masterpiece at that point.
Mm-hmm. Did you just come up with that lyrical miracle spiritual?
No, that's kind of like a cliche.
Is it a cliche?
Yeah, that's like a when people are because people get divided into schools of thought. They're like, oh, I just like fun rap or like mumble rap or like trap or whatever it is, and then like I don't listen to people who are like lyrical miracle spirit. It's like those artists who like are holier than thou, and it's all about the lyrics and stuff like that. So
Right.
that's what people will call you when when every line is just about some I'm the most serious, I use the biggest words with the most syllables and stuff like that. It's like that turns a lot of people off.
It
So
does. Yeah, I bet it
yeah,
does.
so
Yeah.
you can I like to balance both, and so I would encourage any of my pupils to do the same.
Yeah. So yeah, I totally get that because you can't, if you want to flow, you kind of can't hold yourself back. You have to just actually let it flow. And
Literally.
that's a big challenge for me because I'm probably just way too much in my head about it, you know?
Lots of people are. That's why
Yeah.
we started off with freestyling. I'm like, just
Yeah.
to get you out of your own way, so you're not thinking too much about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, that's cool. Yeah, and I had it as an example of I want to rock right now. I'm Rob Bass and I came to get down. You know, there's so many lines of people just stating their name, and that's like the so your name is very important in hip hop.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to that, what when you ask the not like the hip hop head, but just the average person who may not be into hip hop, what's their favorite part about hip hop music? If you've ever asked that to anybody, what would you think their answer would be, or what do you think most of the time they say?
Probably the beat.
Look, I don't know if you can see it, but I have this big one. It says the beat,
The beat is
and it's
everything.
underlined, right? So
Yeah.
again, in getting out of your own way, so you as a so you're fresh into it, so you know that to be true. A lot of people, once they become MCs or rappers and stuff like that, they forget that most people, their favorite aspect of hip hop is the beat. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, lyrics are great, you know, and it's a harmony where the two things help each other, and the what is it? What do they say? The sum is greater than the halves, or whatever the saying is, or something like that.
Yeah.
But
So greater, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right. That's
So
the one. Yeah.
that's the perfect balance. But at the same time, too, most people are just drawn to the beat. So it's easy to get into a place where you forget once you start actually making the music, you like forget that that's what a lot of people are actually into. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, you'll get too much in your head and try to think, what do I want to say? What do I want to show people? What I want to give somebody a brain blast or a brain orgasm. Like, what's the craziest line I can think of? Forgetting that most people, they don't even give a fuck about that when they just want to hear the beat. So that's why I said in the beginning of the class, it's really you're the instrument and the beat is playing you. So based on however the beat is, you're gonna come up with different lyrics, different flows, different things that. But you always like. I think of the best hip like me. I listen. A lot of people they grab their pen and they hear a beat and they start writing. They start thinking. You know, they start externalizing based on what their message is or what I literally just hear and internalize and feel the beat, and then I'm just whatever comes. If it's smart, if it's stupid, if it's funny, if it's sad, whatever comes from it, that is what's going to be most complimentary to the beat because I wasn't in a space of let me try to think of what I want to say. I'm basically just letting the beat talk through me because that's what most people. And so now the music that you create, it is going to complement the beat more as opposed to you just wanting to say whatever you want to say on top of the beat, and it may not necessarily match that beat at the moment. So you're right. Yeah, you're spot on from the first three things. You pretty much got it. So I have written down your job as an MC is not to get people's attention. It's really to not get in the way of the beat, right? And the more you can not get in the way of the beat, that is what creates a great song, with great moments because you're going to get the credit. You're the artist. You're the person speaking, but you're like being the mouthpiece for the beat. So it's important not to forget that and get too much into, like I just said, in that whole lyric. That's why a lot of people don't like the lyrical, miracle, spiritual stuff because it's like they can't. I'm too focused on your words. I can't even enjoy the song, and break out into dance or anything like that.
And what was it exactly that you said about not getting in the way of the beat? What was
I said
exactly?
your job as an MC is to is not to get people's attention. It's to not get in the way of the beat. Enhance it.
Not to get right. You can't get in the way of the beat. That's actually really brilliant. You don't even think about that, but it's like you can't. Some people, I'm gonna piss a lot of people off, but I feel like one of the people who does this a lot.
Yeah.
For me, you're gonna hate me too. Tupac.
Hey.
I feel like it's too much.
Right.
And
so
I get it. Like he says, he's so brilliant. He says all these brilliant things, but for me, he's all over the beat.
You're a Biggie fan. You're more of a Biggie fan.
I'm Biggie's like too. He's probably my number one.
Okay, yes, and that whole and they're both amazing. But like I'm the same way, right? I'm like Biggie. He just flows. Like who gives a fuck what he's talking about? He's like hot, sicker than your average. Papa says cabbage, and you just want to bob your head, and it's just you enjoy it, and it's not so much about the preachy sermon. Not to like shit on Tupac and stuff like that, because he's great in his own right. But
Hang on a second. Do you know every lyric to that song?
I'll probably I know a good bit of it. I don't know.
I
I
think
wouldn't
I
say I
do.
know
I
every
think I
lyric.
do too.
Okay, yeah.
I think I do
But
too.
it's just his flow.
His
It's
flow is
all about the
crazy.
flow. You know, it's that's the funny thing between like you know, spirituality, and like people always love to talk about the flow state and enter the flow. You know,
Hmm.
Bruce Lee, be like water, and then you get hip hop where it's like the flow, you know, and the flow
Yeah.
is directly related to the beat. You know, it's you not getting in the way of the beat. You're not swimming against that current, but you just
Hmm.
allowing the current to take you where it wants to go, and then you
Hmm.
just become the mouthpiece for it. So yeah, don't ever forget that. Don't get so much in your mind of what your message is or whatever you want to say. Learn how to listen to the beat, feel the beat, and then the words will come naturally. And that's how you prevent writer's block a lot of the time, because you
Hmm.
always got to. And then even when you are in a scenario that I wanted to like jump in a couple of times while you were freestyling, but it's like once you realize there are no limits and there are no boundaries and there's no right things to talk about, no wrong things to talk about, you can't get writer's block. You can literally be like, you can make a bar about how you're having writer's block and then just talk about that experience in and of itself. You know, the reason why people get writer's block is because they think they have to like stay on track or talk about a certain thing when it's like your mind is always turning shit out. You know, you're analyzing it too much and you're judging it
Hmm.
too much. You can't be judgmental in hip hop.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where that
I
comes from.
I was feeling, I was feeling judgmental while I was doing it, but then I started rapping about, like I said, I hit a wall, and then I was like, all right, I'll just start talking about what it's like to hit a wall, like
Yeah,
as
you
if we
did.
were in a
You were like,
car.
I'm
It's
bleeding.
like
So
how do I let go? How do I just let go and just say whatever,
it's getting comfortable with
Yeah.
being uncomfortable. What you're doing right now,
Right.
it was your
Right.
first one. You're not gonna be, you're not gonna be Mozart the first time you get on a piano, but that's the thing. You just gotta really not give a fuck.
Yeah.
That's why even hip hop has that whole not give a fuck attitude. That's what ends up attracting a lot of the people. It's weird. It's like when you allow yourself to be free and non-judgmental, you actually end up attracting a lot more that way, as opposed to trying to think of what people want to hear or pander to people and give them. It's just that freedom in and of itself is more priceless than any word that you can think of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you just got to do it, and be non-judgmental. Okay, so that's it. You know how to not get in the way of the beat. You got names, you got different monikers. You are well on your way to becoming the best rapper alive. Now, the next thing, so since you've been getting everything spot on, what would you say is the next most important thing in hip hop after the beat?
I feel like, so I'm just gonna say what I think you want me to say because I'm not 100% sure, but I
Ah,
think.
nah, don't do that.
Well, I'll tell you because I am a musician, so I'm a little bit, I'm informed. I'm somewhat informed. I'm also a hip hop fan, so
Mhm.
I think probably your flow, the delivery, is probably the next thing. Am I wrong?
I mean, there's no
Or is
right or
that
wrong
part of
answer.
it?
That's not what I have on the paper, but
Oh,
and I do have a flow section, so we will get there. But what I want to talk about is rhymes. So
oh,
another word for raps or hip hop or stuff, like people literally call it like your rhymes, right? So
mm-hmm,
the thing about when you're coming up with, and you probably naturally did this while you were freestyling, but just didn't know it. But another thing that leads to writer's block is because people kind of forget that the kind of essence of hip hop is the rhyme. So
mm-hmm,
when you focus on the, like, I literally beat, and like the first thing that comes to my mind is like a sound. It's like a noise. It might be like time, and I'll put a word on it. I'll say time, mine, shine, or something like that. But when you're freestyling, what you're actually doing, it's like everything is like you're working in reverse. So like since the beat is, I mean, not the beat, since the rhyme is kind of the most important part of whatever lyrics you're delivering, right? You want to start there, right? So if you rhymes are popping in your head, what you do is you reverse engineer that sentence based off of the rhyme, So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
don't think, oh, I want to say this, that, and the third. Like you said one thing that rhymes, and then you gotta kind of quickly, without even thinking, you think of the next word that rhymes with the word you just said, and now you gotta quickly
How do
reverse
you get
engineer from
there?
that and find a sentence that leads up to that word, right? So
Yeah.
it's because that's like the impact. That's like the, oh, he rhymed this with this.
Right.
So that's why a lot of people, it gets difficult when you're trying to be too deep or too, lyrical miracle, because the words have more syllables, and you can be a lot more impactful a lot of the times saying stuff that just it'll resonate a lot better just because you're focusing on the sound of the actual rhyme itself and not trying to get too lost in conveying a message.
Mm.
So yeah, like I said, you're reverse engineering every sentence so once you really start freestyling a lot, you're gonna it's just like words are gonna come to your head, and then you're gonna be able to quickly reverse engineer sentence after sentence after sentence, and then that's the way you build a sentence, as opposed into like just regular writing where it's like the boy went to the grocery store. It's like store, grocery, boy. You do it backwards.
You
I
do it
can't
backwards.
think of it.
Yeah, I felt that happening, and I write other types of music, so I could sort of feel it. It's just that I can't do it very quickly. But when you're
Right,
freestyling, you have to do it. It's got to be like instantaneous, pretty much.
right,
So, we're capable of it because people do it, and people do amazing jobs of it. But
right.
it's like for me, it's going to be a lot of practice, probably.
Yeah, like anything. But as
Right.
long as you're aware, don't. I'm just trying to make you avoid common pitfalls, like because
Oh yeah.
once people get into rapper mode, they get so serious, they get so focused on the message and, oh, I'm trying to do this, they forget the brilliance and the simplicity of things. Does it sound good on the beat? Does it rhyme?
Right.
Like you can
Right.
say the most impactful, profound thing in the world, but if the rhyme is kind of weak, then it's not going to hit the same. It's
Yeah. It's not music. It's just poetry.
right,
And
exactly,
rhythm.
exactly, and
You know.
and
Yeah.
and hip hop is a blending of both. But at the end of the day, like you said, it's music, so we can't forget that. And
Right.
I had somebody tell me one time that brevity is the soul of wit. So, and that
That's a
kind of
famous
stuff.
quote by
Okay, so
somebody. I don't know.
yeah, it stuck with me because, like I said, it's not always about the big 5-syllable words. Like you can be a lot more impactful with
Mm-hmm.
keeping it brief, Chief. Keith.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's just something more potent about keeping it brief. So on that note, we're going to keep that point brief and go on to the next one. So now we're getting to lyrical miracle school, pretty much. So that was kind of the crash course in the foundations, the basics, right?
All right. So wait, go back over them again. So it was the beat is number one.
Well, first, number one was syncopation and improvisation. So that's kind of tied in with the beat,
Right.
just kind of,
Syncopation, improvisation. Right.
yep, just being on your toes gives you
Mm-hmm.
time to think, switching up the flows, fast, slow, not letting the beat push you around. It's because the beat is doing this, there's a bunch of different ways I could do that with it, right?
Right.
And then we got what's your name? You got
Right.
you
Right.
got some really dope names. That's going to
Yeah.
give you things to rhyme with, and then also give you content to talk about based on whatever your name represents. It's kind of like your brand.
Mm-hmm.
What are you selling? As an
Branding. Yeah.
artist,
Mm-hmm.
that all is tied into your name.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to the beat. Because that's what everybody loves about hip hop, the beat. So
Mm-hmm.
don't get in the way of that. You just become the mouthpiece for that, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
be all good. And then we get to rhymes, which is so
Mm-hmm.
simple. People often overlook it, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can have people saying the most profound stuff in the world, but if it doesn't rhyme, then like you said, it's like spoken word. That's more so for spoken word. You want to talk about big long sentences, but music, people, it's something catchy, it's something musical. It's just about how words sounding the same after each
Mm-hmm.
other over and over. And then
Yeah.
on that note, like I said, brevity is the soul of wit. Don't overcomplicate it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
So wait, are you about to move on? Because that was
yeah,
that was the recap, right? I feel
yeah,
like
that was
I
recap.
have to tell you something because when you were talking about Thurman Barker and the jazz thing, so there's a whole thing about jazz. Like if you ask a jazz musician whether they play jazz or not, a lot of them just say, No, I just play music." right? Jazz is just somebody named it that, but it's not.
Right.
What we play is like, you know, just the real soul of music, and you can call it whatever you want, but that's what it is. So I spent a lot of time thinking about what like actually makes jazz. Like I disagree with Thurman Barker.
Okay.
So I think there's three things, and I call it the three I's. Number one is improvisation. It can't be jazz without improvisation. But the second thing is individuality,
Okay.
because bringing your own personality to it. So like when you said your name,
Right. I was gonna say that. Yeah.
it's like the same thing, right? And then the third thing is innovation, because
Okay.
jazz never stood still. Like it
Yeah.
never stayed the same. It was always innovating. So if you have those three things, that's jazz. So I think a lot of hip hop is jazz,
Right. Yeah.
right?
No,
Based
that's
on that criteria.
literally. Yeah. Like you
Anyway,
said, we don't have to necessarily call it like it's just kind of music, you know. It's
right, right.
yeah, and the two
So
build on each other. So no, I like that as well.
yeah.
And then with the whole, and then I even have a kind of in a lot of the content that I make outside of music, just kind of me talking and stuff. One thing that I always say is spirituality is individuality at the same time. You know,
Oh,
it's just being your. It's like no two snowflakes are the same. You know, it's like everybody.
yeah,
It's again when we put it as a label as spiritual, it has to deal with chakras and it has to
dude.
deal with. It's like literally, it just be yourself. It's all the good, the bad, the ugly. It's all a part of it. And when you see humans put things into categories, it's like good, bad, you know, devil, God, evil, right? When it's just all just some shit, and we're just experiencing it, you know. So,
Yeah.
uh,
So you just blew my mind twice, because you said before you were just talking about how you can't get in the way of the beat.
mm-hmm,
And your job is not to, make an impression. Your job is to, be one with the beat. You can't get in the way. You have to let the beat sing,
right,
right? And if you're not doing that, then you suck, right? You're not doing the right
right,
thing. But then the second thing is individuality is spirituality.
yeah.
And that is deep, man. That's
There you
deep.
go.
I'm gonna have to spend some time on that later.
And that's why, like you said, music, and then that's how music and spirituality are ultimately connected. Because, like you said, it's
Yeah,
improvisation and individual. It all flows, you know.
yeah, that's deep. Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to get into like a little bit of like your high school like grammar class. Well, not grammar class. I just language arts, if you will. And
Mhm.
this is the title I have for this section is your tool belt. And we got four. There's lots of different literary tools you can use, but there are four main ones, and I call it squaring out the circle. So these are like the four tools that you're going to use, because when you're not getting in the way of the beat and you're just becoming the mouthpiece for a beat, that's like the circle. You're going with the flow, but at
Mm.
at a certain point, you got to actually come up with words, and they have to be logical to an extent, and they have to, you have to give them more masculine qualities in the sense that they have to make sense. They can't just be like, it can't be like scat, or what's it called when they
Yeah.
that's kind of like the origin of it, but
Scat. Yeah.
yeah,
Scat
that's
singing.
that's kind
Yeah.
of what they're doing. They're just flowing on the whatever the beat and coming up with sounds and stuff. But for it to be hip hop, it has to make sense to an extent too. So that's when we get
Right.
into the actual words. And now we're going to get into the literary devices. So the four main ones, like I said, to take you back to a high school language arts class,
Mhm.
are metaphors, similes, hyperboles, and entendres.
Mhm. Mhm.
So those four things, now we're getting into like lyrical miracle territory. When somebody's, especially when we get into like entendres, words having double meanings, you saying one sentence but having two different meanings and things of that nature. That's an entendre. So a lot of people, that gives them. So that's why this kind of takes it to the next level. When you're just going with the flow, people hear, they just like the way that whatever you're saying sounds because you're flowing on it well and it rhymes. And
Mhm.
then after that, it's like, oh wait, that made sense too. Or he said, I get money, I print money like a money machine. Oh, it's like it's a simile. So
Mhm.
like is like your best friend in hip hop. That's
Mhm.
similes. It's like whenever you're reverse engineering those sentences, it's like I'm looking at an apple. It's like, oh, I'm more juicy. I'm juicy like an apple. I never drink, just just to bring those things into reality, similes are really useful, right? So that's like or as, but really, really like a lot of the times. As,
Yeah.
not so much.
I could think of, just as you're saying it, I'm thinking of a whole bunch of examples.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is all hip hop is, but now we're just putting words on things that you already pretty much knew for the most part, you know. And then also metaphors. So metaphors is also in that vein of making things, you know, spiritual or deep, and it's useful in hip hop because you're using these words. You're kind of confined to the words that you're using, but when you look at it more like a metaphor, things can take on like a deeper life of their own just beyond the words, you know. So like one of my, and this is and when I had this pointed out to me, it was like the craziest thing ever. I think in the original interview we did, I told you one of my favorite artists growing up was Lupe Fiasco. He has an entire song, right, that like it made sense in one aspect, but once I figured out, somebody pointed out to me it was a metaphor for a whole nother thing. It like it just completely blew my mind, you know.
Yeah.
Tiny
What
Tiny has
song is
another
it?
song like that too. It's simpler, so I could probably break that one down more. But he has a song called Homecoming, and it's basically the whole song's like written as like he's talking to a girl, but the girl is actually a metaphor for Chicago, the city, you know.
Oh,
So a lot of the everything he's saying in the song I met growing up when we was 4 years old, and then in the one summer you got so cold. You know, you can say that about a relationship. We met at this age. You started to
yeah.
get cold on me. I had to leave and stuff like that. But once you realize that it's a metaphor for the city that he comes from, it's like, oh, you know. So the point is not to get too caught up in the metaphor. So now when you're writing a rap, it's like, okay, I have to come up with the craziest metaphor ever. No, you just don't get in the way in the beat and make things that rhyme. But the more comfortable and involved in that process you get, you'll start to see a lot of things may even have double meanings. And it's okay even if like the audience doesn't even necessarily pick up on it, because now we're getting into uh kind of the more cerebral type hip hop artists who, you know, your fan base is going to be more limited at that. You know, a lot of people just like it simple, you know, right, you know, 1 2 3 hip hop, hippity hippity hop. But you kind of reach the next level once you're able to make things more of like an extended metaphor and give things double meanings and that nature. So those are kind of the four tools that you are going to end up using to really give people that brain blast. That's where what was the name? Frederick Rhetoric comes in, you know. That's when he comes in and says something that blows. It just sounds good, but then when you play it again and think about it, it's like, oh shit, there's like a whole another meaning and layer there, you know. Yeah. So what are your four main tools? Just repeat them back to me so I know
Oh,
you're
it was metaphor, simile, hyperbole,
yeah.
and then the last one was, I can't remember now.
It was
Metaphor,
entendres.
entendre,
Specifically double entendres.
double entendre. So it's double meaning.
Yeah, double
Yeah,
meaning.
yeah,
One
yeah, yeah.
one word, two meanings. It's kind of like a metaphor, but a metaphor is kind of like
You know
more
what's funny
broad.
is that it's like even to this day, can't remember the difference between metaphor and simile.
A metaphor, a simile
Isn't
is a metaphor. It's just using the words like or as. So as opposed to saying, I'm juicy like an apple, a metaphor is like
I am the
so
apple,
so juicy. So juicy. Call me apple, or I'm the
right?
apple the way I'm so juicy. You know, it's literally just like or as are the only. They're essentially the same thing. A lot of these things are kind of the same. And
Yeah.
then also, I kind of skipped over hyperbole, but that's another thing that you talked about in our interview was how hip hop kind of has this bravado about it and this kind of you know,
Yeah.
I'm the one, I'm the man, I'm the guy, and stuff like that. And a lot of that comes from hyperbole or just really just over exaggerating shit and making whatever you're saying seem way more important or way more like fantastic than it actually is. You're way richer than you actually are. You know, that's what a lot of like producers, they get mad because there's like a lot of artists will like steal beats, and then they'll find out that like they stole their beat, and it's like on the beat you're rapping about how rich you are and all this shit like that, but like you can't even pay me for my beat and stuff like that. But it's just it's kind of like you kind of almost expect whoever you're listening to in hip hop that it's not always just like 100% truth. You know, it's like but it is an extension of the truth in that it's just like it's like you're like creating this character, and like even if you're looking at it from the aspect of like it may have not happened yet, you're creating that reality for it to become true. Like a lot of people even talk about how, you know, what do they say, like manifesting through the word, or you know what I'm saying, the power in the word. It's like that's kind of one way to justify all the hyperbole and exaggeration in hip hop. You could be negative and look at it as, oh, these people are lying about how much money they have, lying about how many girls they get, lying about this and the third. Or maybe they're wizards and they're changing their circumstance and situation by speaking things into existence. That's the phrase I was looking for, you know? So don't be afraid to overextend yourself, because you know that's a part of the power of hip hop in and of itself. It's like, you know, it takes people from rags to riches. It changes people's lives, you know, and if you identify with that now, just because it's not your current reality doesn't mean that it can't be your reality at some point. So that's when we get into hyperbole. It's not like a lie. It can be if you want to look at it like that, but it's also just like, you know, like I said, speaking things into existence. So yeah, those are the 4 tools to kind of make your rhymes and the way you're getting on the beat make more sense. So I'm gonna give myself a time. Oh, it's 2:50. Damn. Okay, so these last ones, of course, the deeper into the lesson we go, the more kind of deeper these things are. But I'm just gonna kind of just make you aware of them. We don't have to necessarily flesh them out too crazy. But the next thing that I have is storytelling, right? So this is big,
that's hard.
That's like it's kind of leveling up, you know. Okay, we're just rhyming words, we're just flowing on the beat. Okay, we have a couple of catchy punchlines, or we use metaphors. Now I'm making an actual narrative. These things are not only are the lines making sense, but they're painting a picture, you know. But the way I have it listed is because there is you know, do you remember in math they taught us PEMDAS?
Oh yeah, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Yeah, it's like parentheses, exponent, multiplication. Basically, kind of getting you in the sense that there's an order of operations, right? So, because a lot of people think metaphors and similes and storytelling, that, like you said, that's what kind of makes you like a real great MC. But where people mess up is in the PEMDAS, so the order of operations. They hear the beat, and the first thing they want to do is tell some story about this life-changing spiritual experience they had, or come up with the craziest metaphor. It's like, no, just hear the beat first, make it rhyme first. You know, get like, you gotta crawl before you can walk. You gotta walk before you can run. You know what I'm saying? So
totally right.
That's what that's kind of
a good reminder anyway.
Yeah, because like I said, it's a common pitfall. People, you know, they go straight to, oh, I'm going to tell this crazy and it's like, you can't even like make people nod their head. You're just stepping all over the beat, getting in the way, trying to make this story or come up with this crazy metaphor. And that's not what we want to do. But again, with storytelling, this also kind of takes us back to the first point, which is whatever your name is, because your name is kind of indicative of your story, you know, even how I talked about in my interview, like, oh, okay, my spiritual journey was kind of a integral in me becoming a hip hop artist. So that's like my name and my story are kind of inextricable in that sense, you know? And the great thing about storytelling, not the great thing, the important thing to remember about storytelling is it doesn't have to be super exciting. It just has to be authentic, you know? So a lot of people will be because, you know, hip hop, you know, when you think of traditional hip hop, you think, oh, okay, you know, guy, urban environment from the hood, he like grew up from rags to riches, faced all this adversity. So a lot of people get into this thing where it's like, oh, my story isn't as exciting as that. So I'm going to do one of two things. I'm either going to lie and make up a story that I heard Tupac say or something like that and try to emulate that because I know people like that, or I'm just going to avoid storytelling altogether. But it's like, no, everybody has a story. You just got to, what people resonate with isn't like how crazy the story is per se. It's like how authentic it is. You can make a really mundane story, but if it was really impactful for you and it was really authentic to you, people are going to be able to pick up on that. One of my favorite artists, his name is Currency, and he has like one song where he's just talking about like getting stoned and like playing video games and what I'm saying, eating fruit snacks in his house and stuff like that. And it's like but it's a great story, but it's not anything. Who hasn't been high in their house eating fruit snacks or
Just a
something?
regular
It's like
day,
it's just a regular fucking day, but it's not what you do. It's like how you do it. You know what I'm saying? So the more when you're authentic and speaking from your own genuine experience, you have access to certain details that can make that story pop. So don't feel pressured by like, oh, my story isn't as exciting or cool as the next guy. It's like, is it authentic to you? And that's all that matters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you go from there. And then also even in that same breath too, the story can also be abstract and even fictional to an extent. But if I'm saying something that's fictional, it may be factually a lie, but it has to be like emotionally true, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
the same way, like it may not be your story, but you may have witnessed it or you may have heard it and it impacted you or made you realize something about yourself that was so profound. You're talking about it, and the best way to make that art is to talk about it from a first person perspective. And it may not be your actual first person perspective, but one of my favorite quotes, I used to watch this show on HBO. I love everything on HBO. They had the show called Boardwalk Empire. And on the first episode, this politician, he's like telling the story, and then he gets off the stage, and then this guy's like, "Hey, that part about this, that, and the third wasn't true." And he was like, "Never let the truth get in the way of a good story." So that's authenticity is a thing that is important, that is key, but it's not. Again, you're never putting yourself in a jail cell. Oh, I didn't really experience that, so I can't talk about it. No, if it impacted you, if you can emotionally relate to it, if it would make a good story, right? Something that you would resonate with. We love mafia movies and things like that, but like these guys weren't in the actual mafia, but somebody's got to tell the story. So that's really a lot of hip hop. People who were just around certain people experiencing things, and they weren't necessarily the ones experiencing it, but they had the skill to put it into words and make an art form out of it. And you do the world a disjustice by thinking, oh, I didn't experience that myself, so I can't talk about it. It's like, no, you never, like I said, putting yourself in a jail cell. So storytelling, that will come once you master all the first things. That's really like a 200 level class, if you will.
Yeah, that's high. That's high art.
Yeah, that's high art at that point. And then after that, I have flow, which you may have thought been at the beginning, and it kind of was, but I guess I just put it at the end as well because to emphasize the importance of it. There again, like I just said, don't put yourself in a jail cell. I have written there are no boundaries. You have to let the beat breathe, slow down, speed up, give yourself time to think. Variation and keeping things fresh is very appealing, right? So you kind of did that in your freestyle. You had like whole sections where the beat just kind of rode, and then you hop back in. It's a good way to build anticipation.
That wasn't intentional. That was just not being able to think of stuff.
Right, it works. It has it's an entendre in and of itself. It gives you time to think, right? So there's a functional aspect of it, but then also stylistically, it builds anticipation. When you're like, what's he gonna say next? Or, oh, he was rapping really, and he just disappeared out of nowhere. So again, the more you can not put yourself in a jail cell, feel like I have to always just or it's just allowing that flow to happen. And that's pretty much it. I have at the end, I have melodic hip hop as well. But that's there's no real course for that, if I'm being honest. That's kind of getting back to the first part
What
about
is melodic hip hop? Is that like where you actually you're kind of rhyming, but you're also singing actual notes?
it's like you're not really it's harmonizing, you know, so you're not
Yeah,
singing, but like there's a like auto tune is something that's really big in hip hop now, but it's not
yeah,
like they're like oh, but like the way they say the rhymes, they're still in key. There's still a certain. It's kind of like
yeah.
another way to rhyme almost when you think about it. It's like you're not only rhyming words, you're like rhyming notes as well. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people when the beat first comes on, they may just might hum something, or it's kind of like if you get into certain religions, they have like like speaking in tongues and just like all this kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like Arab music stuff. They're like so
Yeah.
it's like you allow it, and that's kind of like they look at it as like God speaking through them and stuff like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of
Mm-hmm.
take that melody or that harmony that you're experiencing and you basically just put words on top of it, you know?
Mm, got it.
So
Yeah.
that's that's really where hip hop is. Like a lot of people are more so into the melodic hip hop these days. It's like I said, less lyrical miracle and more so about just um making good music. So yeah, that's my crash course in hip hop.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. So, so let me so do I have any homework?
Well,
What's
oh
my
yeah, I
homework?
was gonna say
You got to give me homework.
the same way we started with a regular freestyle, I would encourage, and I can even send you a beat where the beat is more or less like boom bap and more kind of like
Yeah.
emotional, moody. I would want you to do like a melodic freestyle
Mm. Yeah,
as
I
well.
think maybe what I should do is like make a beat or something so that I have this is my beat,
Okay,
and then and then so I have made some. So let me dig through some old beats, see if there's anything that's kind of like reasonable that could be used as a beat. And I'll
perfect.
say like, oh, that's my beat. That's like, because I mean, if it sucks, then I'll just use someone else's beat. But or maybe I can commission a beat. Like where'd you get your beats? You know what I mean? Like,
It's YouTube. There's literally like millions on YouTube.
no, where'd you get your beats for your album? Or your
YouTube.
albums? Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
What are
where
they
a
just
lot of
like?
people.
But are they like royalty free beats, or how does that
No,
work?
you can I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I steal them, but I think on this last album I actually paid for them. But you in a perfect world, you pay. They have like the link for you to buy them,
Yeah,
uh, and then you could just pay the producer, and
and you can
or you
use
could
it.
just rip it off of YouTube and download it. And there's like
Yeah.
60,000 songs uploaded to Spotify every day, so it's like no one's probably gonna catch you.
All right. So I'll tell you what. Can my first assignment just be to get a beat? Because I'd like to actually like work towards actually having like an actual song, like
Okay.
like being able to like have a couple of verses, maybe a chorus, like an actual, maybe even have an actual song. So I could
Okay.
find an actual beat and I can pay for it and I can say, okay, this is my beat. I'm going
Yeah.
to use this thing. I feel comfortable with it. And then and then I'll start to rhyme over it and I'll come up with stuff and maybe you can critique it or something.
That sounds amazing. That sounds
You know what
perfect.
I
So what
mean?
you do on YouTube, and it's kind of limiting, but you got to work with what you got. I kind of like the idea of you making your own beat, but I don't know how if you want something more
I'm
professional.
just not sure if I have the skills to make something that's really going to be so great that, you
It'll
know,
inspire you to
it's
come
going to
up with the.
inspire me to, yes, get to that, that
Okay.
level,
So
you
what
know?
you do is you basically go to YouTube and you type in like Biggie Smalls type beat or Outkast type beat
Yes,
or Erica Badu type whatever the vibe you're kind of going for, just put that artist in type beat. You'll get a whole bunch of results. Listen to them, and then they have in the description how to buy it, the link to buy it, and things like that. And
got it.
yeah, that's a good place to start for that.
Awesome. Dude, this
Yes,
is
sir.
amazing. This is amazing.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well.
I love it. Um, So you know what so what I was gonna do was just throw this on one of my channels, the one that I told you about before, Servants of Universal Love, and I
Okay.
think that's probably where I'm gonna end up, kind of like letting all this kind of like hip hop ish type stuff live. But I'll
Okay.
send you the video too, and I mean you can post it wherever you want. I'll probably just do an intro and say something like, you know, this is my actual lesson with Saint Uno. He let me post this. You know, he gave me permission to post this, but this is an actual lesson. So you're
Right.
getting to see like a behind the scenes situation,
Right.
you know, and then,
Yeah,
you know, but you can do whatever you want with it too, obviously.
for sure. I love
Yeah.
it.
All right, man. Thanks for dropping Kamala to come hang with me for an
it
hour.
was my pleasure, man. It wouldn't be
Yeah,
anywhere else in
dude.
the world.
Cool, man.
All right. Yep. Looking forward to it.
I'm running for it, man. Thanks again. Really
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.